Oh, okay. Might be glitch. Don't have CapCut. Bruh.
They play queen to g6, delivering check along the way. White must move the king. King to f1, and the knight jumps to f5. Black offers the bishop as bait, but if white takes it, black plays knight to g3, forking rook h1 and king f1. So white first brings the rook to g1, hitting the queen. Queen under attack, bishop still hanging, but knight jumps to g3 anyway. Simply white can take the knight, and after that the bishop, but don't forget, white is already down a knight in the opening. If they take here, black ends up with a rook for a minor piece, and white's king remains exposed. So after knight g3, check, white plays king to f2. Black keeps pressing, knight to e4, centralizing. White keeps g1 is defending. You can't take it because the knight on f3 covers. But now both the queen on g6 and bishop on d6 are hanging. What black does next shows us that this wasn't just some casual play. Bishop to b4 check, pulling the bishop out of danger while giving check. White doesn't have time to capture the queen on g6. Stepping away with the king is risky. White plays c3, offering two more pawns to blunt black's momentum. Black checks. Knight takes c3, also threatening the queen on d1, and potentially discover checks with the bishop. White must take the knight. To capture, the bishop takes c3 check. Rook on d1 is now also under attack. In this sequence, white ends up sacrificing two more pawns. King moves to f2, but black's queen is still under threat on g6. So black doesn't have time to grab the rook. Instead, queen counterattacks. King c6. Now, rook a1, bishop c4 both. White has a decision. Still down to two. Either the rook or bishop is going to fall. They decide to save the bishop, moving it to d3, preserving the powerful piece. Now, both bishop the knight will join in. Queen is ready to follow. But yes, white is giving up the rook on a1. Black takes it. Bishop captures on a1. So now black is up a full rook and four pawns. Sounds winning. But most of their pieces are still asleep. The king is not safe. In this moment, white sacrifices another pawn, d5. This pawn is undefended. Bait. If black takes it with the queen, white plays bishop takes h7 to check. Then wins the queen on d5 and takes over. Black sees the idea and plays queen to e6, check. White activates their bishop with bishop to e3, putting both the queen and the bishop on a1. Black replies with queen to e2, check, defending the bishop. King to f1 from white. Now black has a problem. The bishop on a1 is stuck, blocked by the queen. But the queen can't move or they lose the bishop, so black tries f5, cutting off the diagonal from the dangerous bishop. That bishop was eyeing h7 after all. Here the doctor starts to slip a bit. Plays bishop to g4, attacking both queen e2 and bishop a1, but the strongest move for black would have been a sacrifice. After bishop to d4, they capture the a2 pawn instead. That's not a bad option either. But after white takes the bishop on a1, black recaptures the queen on d5. Looks like black was in time trouble here. Meanwhile, white has now sacrificed pawns on a2 and d5. The mission is complete. The doctor must now sacrifice his final pawn, d5. So white plays e6, the strongest move. This is the last pawn on the board for white, but black can't take it just yet, because this opens up the long diagonal for the dark square bishop. The pawn on g7 is hanging. Black must cover with g6. Now they're somewhat stabilized. But the white pawn keeps going. e7, hitting the rook and threatening to promote. Black stops it with the rook, but white plays queen to e2. Now black can't take the pawn, and white's queen gets access to the second rank. Black plays queen to c5, but they miss a huge threat. White's plan is not to defend the pawn, but to swing the queen to b2. The weak dark squares around black's king spell doom. This is no way to defend it. Black has to take the d7 pawn, or its mate with queen to d7. So black has to take d7. White has now sacrificed every single pawn. Not one black. And now,
Gue kagak nasa pun.
Only move. King to f7. Now, beautiful finish. Knight to g5. Queen and bishop cover all the black squares. Queen controls the h rank. Doctor's Night for the fatal stab on F7. Also covered cancer. Leave a like if you enjoyed this incredible masterpiece by the Doctor. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you love tech content. Thanks for your support, friends. See you in the next video.
Di ko kakuha tubig. Mango. Hindi ko kakuha tubig.
After surviving the hunt from her in-laws, Grace
Baniguro ay.
she loses her pulse and receives shock. Eventually, she regains consciousness in the hospital bed, only to find herself handcuffed. Detective Rogers stands before her, informing her that she is a murder suspect with substantial evidence against her. Just then, a nurse enters, announcing a visitor. It's her sister Faith. Grace is puzzled about her presence, and Faith explains that she is listed as her emergency contact. Roger inquires about Faith's identity, to which she replies that they are biological sisters, though not family. Grace smiles at this. Roger departs, instructing her to prepare for her statement. Faith shares that she is now a social media coordinator, lives in a lovely home, and has a fantastic boyfriend. She didn't need to marry a wealthy man to improve her life. Curious, Grace asks how Faith knew about her husband, and Faith reveals she saw them together at the supermarket. It turns out both sisters were raised in foster care and lost touch when Grace moved to New York at 18, leaving Faith behind at 15. Faith inquires about what happened to Grace, who responds that she wouldn't believe it. Faith decides to leave, but Grace stops her and recounts the entire story. After listening, Faith concludes that Grace is definitely going to jail. Meanwhile, in another location, a man named Chester Danforth sits on his bed when his lawyer approaches him with the shocking news that the Luke Gomez family is deceased. He immediately calls his assistant Pamela to contact his children. Then he sends a text saying the bride has survived and the game is on. The message reaches Wan Chun in China, Ignacio in Spain, Bill in the USA, and Viraj and Madhu in England, all of whom are thrilled to hear the news. Chester Danforth's children, Titus and Ursula, come to visit him and are informed about the situation. It seems that the Empire now belongs to Grace.
Oh.
He shows them a ring and emphasizes that they must remain within the family, and they need to reclaim
No.
their. He then gives them a pillow and urges them to proceed as the two suffocate to death, ensuring they participate as family owners in the upcoming game. Grace is and suddenly he is stabbed with a knife. It's Bill who pulls out another knife, prompting the sisters to flee. They hide under a desk, and just before he reaches them, they manage to escape. They make it to the hallway,
Sila.
and search for an exit, but Bill leaps in front of them. He disarms her and pins her down, and just as he's about to stab her, he is blown away because the official ritual hasn't started yet. Faith is utterly shocked, but Grace warns that there may be more threats ahead. She rushes to Roger, uncuffs her hands, and changes into her fighting dress, believing she must prepare for battle once more. They decide to leave, but as the lift opens, someone throws a smoke grenade in front of them, causing the sisters to lose consciousness. They ponder who Faith might be. Meanwhile, Titus and Ursula are heading to the mansion when they encounter their cousin Pip, who mentions he will join them later. Upon arriving at the mansion, the convoy of cars pulls up. First, Ignacio arrives with his son Felipe. Ursula inquires about his daughter Francesca, and Ignacio assures her that she will arrive shortly. Then Wan Chun shows up with her son Chen Fu, who is preoccupied with his tablet, and asks for the Wi-Fi password. Following them is Mario, accompanied by his brother Viraj and his wife Martina. Soon after, they spot a helicopter approaching, and inside are the sisters. They are presented to all the council members. Ursula introduces herself along with her brother. Madhu snaps a selfie with her. They soon learn that Chester has passed away, and they will be playing together in the game as twins. Shortly after, the lawyer arrives with a large book. Everyone takes a seat. He announces that he is the sole attorney for the Luke Vale organization, which is
Yes.
This is definitely the most thrilling horror blockbuster of 2023, and another zombie movie from South Korea after Train to Busan. The story takes place in the capital of South Korea. Two idle men sneakily pry open a shipping container filled with a large amount of jewelry and gems. As they get excited about their discovery, a cat suddenly emerges from the container. Before Won Nai can react, the cat pounces on him, leaving a scratch on his neck with its sharp claws. Initially, Won Nai ignores the wound and continues to search through the box for gold watches. However, as the virus slowly spreads within Won Nai's body, he starts losing his sanity. His companion tries to call Won Nai to get on the car, but this only triggers his bloodthirsty nature. The next morning, Won Nai wakes up by the Han River, now in a state of half-human, half-zombie. With what was left of his instincts, Won Nai took one step at a time towards the center of Jiangnan. Soon a man eating raw pork appeared on the busy streets, and this man was none other than the half-human, half-zombie Won Nai. A crowd of onlookers takes out their phones to record the scene, unaware of the impending danger. As more and more people gather, Won Nai, frightened, breaks through the crowd and runs off. On the way, he meets a water delivery worker. Won Nai follows the worker's truck to a building. After seizing the opportunity when the water delivery worker wasn't paying attention, Won Nai suddenly bit into his neck from behind. Having tasted human blood, Won Nai was now fully transformed into a zombie. A horrifying massacre was about to begin, and the zombie virus quickly spread throughout the building. Those bitten by Won Nai turned into zombies. Madam On, who was collecting rent in the building, sees the scene and orders his security guards to stop it. But in the face of so many bloodthirsty and brutal zombies, the security guards were pressed to the ground by the zombies as soon as they entered. Seeing that the situation has gone out of control, Madamon directly called the security guards downstairs to close all the doors with his walkie-talkie. Madamon wants to seal off what's happening in the building. As soon as the security guard locked the doors downstairs, a horde of zombies appeared behind him, and before he could call out for help, the zombies had already pounced on him on the ground. On the other side, Madamon and the others are being chased by the zombies. As they pass by a short video office, they decide to hide inside. Boon Ji was the owner of this office. As soon as came in, Madamon saw Won Nai on the screen. Madamon was terrified and told everyone that this person was the one going on a rampage, biting people in the mall. While everyone was still trying to make sense of the situation, Boon Ji, on the other hand, was unusually excited. This was the perfect opportunity for him to capture unique footage. Boon Ji thinks that he can film all the Biden's monsters in the mall. It will be a sensation. Boon Ji led everyone as they rushed out, unaware that the security guard who came in with Madamon had already been bitten by a zombie. The group carefully made their way through the stairwell to the floor infested with zombies. Outside, there are biting zombies everywhere. Seeing this, the group was utterly shocked. Boon Ji took out his phone, ready to film, but suddenly, a zombie appeared right in front of him. The screams attracted more zombies, and they started closing in on them. Luckily, Hyunsuk kicked the zombie in front of him and closed the door just in time for the crowd to escape. They hurriedly ran upstairs. Minjong wanted to use her phone to call for help, but Boon Ji was only concerned about capturing footage for his video. As they argued, the zombie Won Nai appeared before them. Hyunsuk rushed forward without thinking. Although Hyunsuk had some martial arts training, his regular attacks were ineffective against the now zombie Won Nai. Soon, Hyunsuk was thrown aside by Won Nai. Then, Won Nai lunged at Boon Ji and the others to save his own life. Boon Ji pushed one of his employees towards the zombie Won Nai, sacrificing him to buy time for the rest to escape. They quickly ran back to the office. Sly Boon Ji continued to film through the glass window. Minjong tried to call for help with her phone, but Madamon knocked it to the ground. Madamon didn't want the incident to be known to preserve the building's reputation, while Madamon complained. Hyunsuk and the others suddenly looked horrified. Hyansuk rushes up and fights with the zombie. But the zombie was like a dance master, with all sorts of difficult moves. While Hyansuk was fighting with the zombie won that came again. Fearful, Boon-Ji used Minjong as a shield.
Tugan.
The building was now filled with zombies, searching every corner for prey. Hyansuk led Minjong into a warehouse to hide. Realizing they couldn't stay hidden forever, they needed a way to escape. Hyansuk looked around and found a radio on a shelf, and he came up with a way to get out. Hyansuk first hung the radio in midair with a rope and then played a song.
Nice.
These jobs sensitive to UCL is not a cinema and no cinema. Only the first companies find the most expensive deal going for dinner.
All the zombies were attracted to it, and even the dead zombies got up from the ground. While most of the zombies are captivated by the music, Hyansuk pulls Minjong and runs towards the office. But they don't get very far before they encounter a zombie. Hyansuk quickly got into a fight with the zombies. Minjong was about to help with a baseball bat when Boon-Ji, who had turned into a zombie, appeared behind her. Boon-Ji keeps touching Minjong's arm. At that moment, Minjong suddenly remembers the fighting technique that Hyansuk taught her. After finishing off Boon-Ji, Minjong helped Hyansuk to kill the zombie that was holding him down. They then made their way to the office, but just as they were about to call for help, they realized there was no signal on their phones, and even the landline didn't work. Knowing that waiting for rescue was no longer an option,